Posted by you/Cloudyanese. I set my toaster on fire and blamed it on my mother who was recovering from neck surgery. Okay, so this was last year. I was trying to toast my Pop-Tarts, but one got stuck in the toaster. I unplugged the toaster and went to town trying to get it out, which just resulted in the Pop-Tart becoming mashed up and gooey in the toaster. It was around 3 in the afternoon at the time, so I just decided not to worry about it. I got my other Pop-Tart, thankfully intact, and forgot about the mess. Later that night, I decided to make some toast before I went to bed. By now, everyone in the house was either gone or asleep. My brother and my dad were both out doing stuff and my mom was sleeping peacefully in her room. You see, my mom had 3 herniated discs in her neck, and 3 days before this incident, she had gotten surgery to fix and replace the discs. So she's still pretty drugged out from the painkillers prescribed to her, and not necessarily coherent a lot. She's gotten to the point where she can start to move around and do basic tasks, but otherwise she's stuck in a recliner. However, my mom is fairly stubborn, and will start pushing herself before her body is ready to do anything strenuous. She's always been like this, despite our pleas for her to rest. Anyways, after putting the bread in the toaster, I go to use the bathroom. But as I'm peeing, we have a bathroom next to the kitchen so you can view most of the kitchen from the toilet. My heart drops. There is smoke billowing out of the toaster. I leap forward and yank the plug out of the wall, while hurrying to the sink and getting a cup of water. As I run back to the toaster I can see flames burning the bread, as the acrid smoke becomes more thick. At this point I'm thankful our smoke detectors were faulty at the time and not working, because they would have surely woken up my sleeping mom. I pour water on the toaster until the flames are extinguished and the smoke has faded, and I open windows and turn on our fans to eliminate the smell of smoke. Despite the adventure, there was not a lot of visible damage to the toaster. If you looked inside you could see fire damage, but the outside was quite pristine, surprisingly. So I choose to leave the toaster unplugged, towel the water off of it, and just call it a night. I fall asleep after cleaning up the kitchen, and wake up at about 10 in the morning to hear my father knocking on my door. I had practically forgotten about the incident, but the second my dad sat on my bed, I remembered and my heart dropped. I began to panic as I heard my dad say he tried to make toast that morning, only to see smoke coming out of the toaster. But to my utter relief, he said something that I'd use to save myself. When I looked in the toaster, it looks like there was jam or something stuffed down there. Between you and me, I think Mom tried to make some toast last night but she put the jam on first and got that in there. Yep, that explains it. I gratefully hopped onto that bandwagon and was quick to pin the blame on her. My dad chuckled a bit, saying it wasn't a huge deal and we wouldn't mention anything to her, as she would probably not remember the incident. You could say that for sure. To this day, no one knows that I was the one who killed the toaster. Darr, set my toaster on fire and blamed it on my drugged out mother. Posted by you/Plumpishpeach. I beat up a kid because he kicked my elderly dog. I was reminded of this when I read a venting post in r/dogs about a woman who restrained herself from slapping a child when the kid kicked her dog. Several years ago I was in a similar situation, and I didn't restrain myself at all. When I was 23, my 14-year-old beagle mix was diagnosed with a fast-acting cancer that had already started to spread. I'd had him since he was 1 and I made it my mission in life to keep him as comfortable and happy as I could. There was nothing he loved more than walking in the park, so I packed him up in the car and we for a short and slow walk every day. He was the sweetest, friendliest boy, so it was absolutely shocking when on one of our walks, a boy we'd never seen before, who was probably 10 to 11, ran up to us screaming, "I hate your ugly, gross dog, lady." My initial response was, "Ugh, okay, well we're just passing by, so goodbye then." Then the little jerk let out an inhuman screech and ran forward and kicked my dog in the stomach. My poor boy yelped and whimpered and crumpled to the ground in pain, and the kid laughed in that horribly demonic way only a child can laugh, and then reeled back to kick again. Before that moment, I had never experienced rage as an adult. I'm pretty evenly keeled person, and I'm typically a pacifist and diplomat. This was the first and only time in my life that I saw red. Before my brain had even processed what happened, I'd already lunged at the kid and sort of half grabbed, half shoved him by the neck, and pushed him to the ground very hard. He immediately burst into tears, and that's when I should have stopped. But I couldn't stop. It was the only time in my life when I felt like I wasn't in control of my actions. The kid was scrambling to get up and I kicked him really hard in the side, several times. Then I grabbed him by his sweatshirt hood and screamed in his face at the top of my lungs. I screamed some really horrible things at him, something like that I'd find him and kill him slowly if he ever tried to hurt another animal again, but it felt like the words were just erupting out of me with no thought or effort. At that point the kid was ugly, sobbing and apologizing and begging me to let him go, which I guess helped me to snap out of it, because I felt myself, for lack of a better description, return to my body. I felt totally numb and sort of inebriated, but the rage was gone. I let the kid go, and told him to go find his mom, and hastily added, "And don't ever kick a dog again." He ran off crying. I scooped my dog up, hustled to my car and left. I was oddly calm. I drove to the vet and told them only that a child had kicked my dog and ran away, and I wanted to get him checked out. They checked him out and said there was no serious damage, other than the beginnings of a bruise. I drove us home, got into the shower and sobbed for hours. I had no idea until then that I was capable of doing anything like that. I started therapy the next week to deal with the anger issues I didn't know I had until then, and I've never had another issue like that. I didn't go back to that park for years, for fear of running into that kid again, mostly for fear that his parents would be there and get me arrested. I took Freddie to a different park, that was a little further from the house, but he actually liked it more because it had good soft dirt to dig in, until his final day on Earth. I think about that kid sometimes, though. I wonder how my actions impacted him. Did I scare him straight? Did I teach him to be more violent? Does he have some complex about short women now because a short woman beat him up when he was a kid? He's gotta be at least a teenager now. I wonder how often he thinks about it, if ever. I wonder if he sees himself as being entirely the victim, or if by now he's loved and lost a pet, and understands the drive behind what I did. Edit. Wow, I posted this at like 4 AM and figured hardly anyone would see it, but this got a lot more attention than I was expecting. Posted by you/cute_bean_ting. When I was 18 I set my own house on fire. I'm an arsonist. I'm 20 years old, and when I was 18, I set my own place on fire and only served 3 months in prison. I'm not a criminal in general, and I'm pretty sure I'm not a bad person, and I don't know why I did it. I guess I just lost my shit. I drank a whole case of beer and went around that place room to room, setting fire to anything remotely flammable. The curtains, the carpet. When the smoke started filling the place I just calmly collected my hamsters in a cardboard box, went downstairs and told my neighbor that he should ring 999 because I just set my house on fire. He didn't believe me until I pointed up at the smoke pouring out of the windows. I blinked and I was in prison. Anyone want to hear more of my story?